Hi friend, welcome back to my kitchen. I'm Courtney Rich with Cake by Courtney, and today we're making my new gingerbread poke cake. This is gonna be a gingerbread cake in a 9x13 pan. We are gonna poke holes all over it, soak it with homemade caramel, and then on top, we're gonna be adding a molasses whipped cream, which is gonna be like a gingerbread whipped cream. I know you loved my pumpkin poke cake, and if you love that, you're gonna love this one because we still get kind of that caramel flavor, but with the gingerbread, it is heaven. So let's make the cake and start with that. First thing we're gonna do is, of course, add our room temperature butter with our brown sugar. So we've got brown sugar in this to enhance that molasses flavor. So it will be a little bit of a heavier cake, not super light and fluffy like you would get when you're using granulated sugar, but we love that for this cake. So we've got our brown sugar. And in just a moment, we will add also our molasses and our eggs, but let's get this mixed up really quick. All right, so it's gonna look kind of light and fluffy. Get all that butter really well blended into the brown sugar. We're gonna add our molasses. Go. And then I'll start to mix this, and then we'll add our eggs as well. Room temperature eggs, of course, room temperature buttermilk. Just a couple eggs. And with a hand mixer, it does take a little bit longer, but do not stress. It's gonna work, it'll come together. We've got our flour and now some spices. So we have ginger, cinnamon, some salt, and then we've got our baking soda. So that's gonna help it rise. Whisk that together so those spices are well and evenly blended into our flour. And we want that baking soda evenly mixed in, so we get an even rise. So just look, see there was still some of that cinnamon on the side there. And now that we have that mixture well mixed, we're gonna be on a low speed. Remember, low speed once you start adding the dry ingredients. So I'm gonna do a little bit of our flour, and I'll start to mix that. And then we're gonna do a little bit of our buttermilk. And alternating the flour and the buttermilk just really make sure that the ingredients mix evenly. Over mixing at this point will just cause the cake to be really dense and kind of gummy because you overwork the gluten in the flour, and we don't want that. So we've just got to mix until things are well blended, meaning like we don't have streaks of the buttermilk and we don't have streaks of the flour anymore. And then we can always take a spatula and mix by hand for a minute. And what I love about a poke cake too is if you do kind of accidentally over bake it, you're adding the caramel or whatever the sauce is, which helps to moisten the cake. So these kind of cakes feel so foolproof to me. I'm gonna stop there and I'm just gonna mix the rest by hand. Now I already have some caramel made, and I have a whole video and tutorial about how to make the caramel. So I'm gonna link that below in the caption too. We're focusing on the cake right now, and we're gonna make that molasses gingerbread whipped cream in just a minute. I've got my 9x13 glass pan, and I like the glass pan for the poke cake. I don't think it bakes quite as like perfectly as my metal pan, but for this kind of cake, I like to leave it in the glass pan. I think it's just easier to get all that caramel on there, kind of keeps the mess contained. And then it's like really pretty because you can see the cake too. So let's go ahead and pour this batter in. Like I said, it's kind of thick, so we will make sure to smooth this out so it goes into the oven nice and evenly. I love any batter, any kind of cake batter. You can't own a bakery because it wouldn't be sanitary. I would lick too many spoons, too many bowls. So just for my family. All right, spread that out. Does look kind of thick. Don't let that stress you out. We want this cake to have a little bit more, I don't know, structure, a little thicker, a little bit more dense. so that when we put all that caramel in there, it doesn't just fall apart. It's gonna hold that caramel. That caramel is gonna soak into the cake layers or the cake and just be so yummy and delicious. Okay. This one's gonna go in the oven at 350 for about 35 minutes. So our cake has cooled completely. We've got our molasses whipped cream. So you'll see that in the recipe. Heavy whipping cream, powdered sugar, and then we're adding some molasses right to it. That is it. And then I have my homemade caramel. Again, I'm linking the recipe and the tutorial for this down below because this has its own video. This is actually a double batch. I've got some cake I need to make coming up. So I wanted to make this double batch. You only need a cup of it for this. Now, before we add these, we need to just put holes in the entire cake. More holes, the better. A couple different things you can use. I remember my mom always taking the back of a wooden spoon and creating those holes. I love this method because those holes become pretty dang big. You could also use a fork, but just notice those holes aren't as big, but you get more of them. So it's kind of just personal preference or what you have on hand. You could even use a straw and poke that in. I'm gonna keep going with the back of my wooden spoon. And again, I'm like, oh, even if I overcook this a little bit, which I think I did, don't tell anyone, okay? I think I did. Guess what? It actually won't even matter. We're not even mad about it because we're gonna add a whole cup of caramel. Don't even worry about going to the edge. Get in there. This should look pretty wrecked, okay? That feels good. Yes. All right. Now I'm going to take about half of this and we're going to start to pour it all over the cake. There we go. And I will take a spoon or even my icing spatula and push the caramel into these holes because we want that caramel to really seep in. Push that into place. Yes, look at that. So this is just another version of a better than sex cake. But in this house, have I told you guys, we actually call it better than anything cake. I don't know why. I think when I was making my version of like a homemade better than anything cake, Weston happened to be in the kitchen and was like, he was a little bit younger at that point. And he was like, what are you making? And I start to say, oh, I'm making a better than anything cake. Like it just felt weird to be like to my 13-year-old son, a better than sex cake. So yeah, we call it better than anything. And now we have our gingerbread version. So can you see how that caramel soaked in there? I have enough. I'm going to be making the better than anything cake next week with that. Now we're going to take this whipped cream, make sure that's all mixed in really well, and just top this right on top. Now, if you want, you could get some toffee bits and put that on top. That would go really well with the mixture we have going here. Just gonna make sure that spreads all over. And again, you're adding the whipped cream when the cake and the caramel are cooled because we do not want this whipped cream to melt when it's on here. The flavor is so yummy. And don't worry about adding the molasses to the whipped cream. It's not that much, but remember, we've got a cup of powdered sugar in there. So it gets really sweet from that, or not really sweet, but we get some of the sweetness there. And then we have that caramel. Let's just make sure that looks nice and even. And I think I'm gonna go grab some toffee bits from my pantry because I love a little sprinkle of something on top. Hang tight. The toffee bits I have some of the chocolate on it. We're not mad about that because then we get a little chocolate and the toffee with the gingerbread and caramel. Totally okay. So you can look for the Score bar pieces, Heath bar pieces. Either one will totally work. Today, this is what the pantry had to offer us. And isn't that cute with the little sprinkle of the toffee bits on top? Love it. I love the simplicity of a 9x13. You can take any cake really and put it in a 9x13 to just make it so simple. Any of the layered cakes, but really a poke cake I feel is so great. As a 9x13, such a crowd pleaser, But shall we dig in together? Let's grab just a little spatula here. I'm gonna come over in the corner. Let's see if we've given that caramel some time to actually like really drip into the cake. This is actually a great cake to make ahead of time. I'm gonna come in and get another piece. When you make it ahead of time, it does give that caramel some extra time to soak in. You would just cover it with some plastic wrap and let it sit in the fridge overnight. Okay. Oh, how I wish you were here with me right now. I feel so bad eating in front of you, but duty calls. Oh my heck. Sometimes there's no words and you just have to dance it out. I haven't even let the caramel like soak in there enough yet, and I'm still going nuts for it because I do have the caramel on the top. But molasses whipped cream, like gingerbread in whipped cream, you guys. Look, do you see that caramel starting to soak? That's the bite I need next. So, hello, gorgeous. Hello, gorgeous. Let's take that bite. I don't even, guys, I will be so sad if you don't make this. It is too good not to make. Gingerbread poke cake, recipes in the caption. You're gonna love it. Enjoy. I can't wait for you to try. Come back and tell me what you think, or leave a message on the blog. I just get so excited thinking about you making all these yummy creations. I'll be back soon with another episode. See ya.